For tonight, first of all, before anything, let me introduce myself. My name is Richard Dovalli. I'm the speaker of Evolution of Leadership. And I'm so happy for tonight's event because we're going to have an amazing speaker. Tonight, we're going to have a college student that focuses on industrial engineering. Yes, a college student that also holds a bachelor's degree from the Texas University at Houston. She's also a nice and beautiful mother of one son. She's the CEO and founder of REAM. It's a real estate technology company. She's also a founder of Million Property Management. Also, Byrdy, she has Byrdy Lynn private publishing company. And last but not least, she's an active volunteer with the Real Estate Associates Program. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Byrdy Lynn Kelly. Thank you so much to be here, Miss. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Alexis, for having me here. And I am so excited. Like I was at your kickoff event earlier this year, and I just was blown away. You guys are an amazing group. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to your group today.
Yeah, now thanks to you, Miss, because not everyone in their busy agendas, have this, nice kindness to share the experience, their wisdom, and, provide this value for all leaders, all over the place, because this is a live event and we're also going to record it. So people will see it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, is it okay for me to go ahead and share my screen?
Of course, I'll leave the mic.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to share my screen. Uh-oh. I'm sharing my screen. Here we go. All right. So again, thank you guys for having me today. I'm going to share about my leadership journey. And most importantly, today, what I want to talk about is why it's important to power through challenging moments in your life and your career. So we'll go ahead and get started. I wanted to share some stories about my life just growing up and in my career. And I wanted to start off today with just a few questions that I wanted you all to take the time to reflect. The first question is, what would you do if you were in a room and everyone in the room looked like you? How would you feel if you were in that room and everyone looked like you? And we're going to switch it up. What would you do if you were in a room and you were the only one who looked like you? How would that make you feel, being in a room where you're the only one who looked like you? The latter happened to me as a child growing up on many occasions. And, it happened to me in my career. And this is something that it's a scenario that you never want to go through, being in the room where you're the only one who looks like you. And there's an old adage that says, it's lonely at the top, right? You're leading an organization, you're a leader, and you're at the top by yourself leading everyone. Well, one of the reasons why it shouldn't be lonely is for the color of your skin. And so me being in those challenging situations, growing up and in my career, it helped build my character as a leader and to be the leader that I am today. So I'm going to jump right into this and tell you a quick story about my childhood. My dad moved us from Fort Worth to Clackamas, Oregon. And I went from a Black, brown, and white neighborhood and high school, to a predominantly all-white high school. And this high school in Clackamas, Oregon was super crowded. It was overcrowded, actually. They were building another high school. And there were only 3 Black students, 2 Black boys, and 1 Black girl. That Black girl, yes, it was me. I was in a situation where I was the only Black female that looked like me. I would sit in my history class, and I remember, just like it was yesterday, my history teacher reading Huckberry Finn to us. And, while he was reading it, he was just reading the N words that were, part of that story as if he was saying the, and why. and I just remember being mortified. And the principal, who I complained to, said, well, he has not had an African-American student in his classroom before. Well, of course, I called BS because I'm like, this is 1997. You haven't had a Black kid in your class. And so it was hard for me to believe, but I had to sweep that under the rug and power through. I had kids, as I walked around, peppering the N-word around me as if I wasn't there. Like I had a skinhead group, taunting me, all because they didn't like me for something that I could not change, which was my skin color. And I remember I went into the lunchroom, and I knew, like, when I went into the lunchroom that day and I got my tray of food, I knew that I was going to make a friend today. I was going to power through, and I was going to meet somebody, and I was going to get at least a hi. Well, I sit down in the middle of the lunchroom table, and I look to my left and my right to say hi, and I noticed kids getting up. Pretty soon, I was the only one on that lunchroom table. I call it my lunchroom wells, because that started me just eating alone from that day. And it wasn't a good feeling. And I remember that first day that it happened, I looked to my left and I looked to my right, and the administrators looked away. I was by myself. So what do I do? What do you do in a situation like that? Well, I'll tell you what I did. I signed up for this school talent show because we would get a grade in my drama class if we performed at the talent show. And so that's what I did. I took a poem that Oprah Winfrey performed in 1995 at the Essence Awards. And I read this poem that I had rewritten at the talent show. And I was passionate. I was angry. And I was like, you are going to know that I am here. I am Black. I'm a girl, and I am not going anywhere. And I had to stand up for myself. So what I did is I just spewed through that poem. And I remember, you would think I would be so nervous, but I was not. I was on that stage and I was just like giving it to them. And at the very end, I was like, I am African American. And I was so proud of myself. So I exited left, and I'm walking out with my head held high. And I was like, yes, I was so proud of myself. And I could care less if they clapped. I could care less. I stood up for myself. Before you know it, because after I finished, you could hear a pin drop. I heard. And before you know it, I had a standing ovation and woohoos and yeah. And I turned around in amazement because I couldn't believe that I won. I won in that moment. In that moment that was so pivotal, I had powered through and I leveled up to a better chapter in my life. So now I'm making friends, and they're inviting me to sit with them at lunch. I'm not eating lunch alone. I had powered through. So now we're going to fast forward to my career life. And in my career life, I discovered a moment that was very, very emotional, it was weird for me to go through that and experience that, knowing that I had been through it earlier on in childhood. It actually, in childhood, those moments and me powering through and dealing with racism helped me in my adult career life experience those same moments that shouldn't be happening. And so I was in Tucson, Arizona. Ooh, it was hot out there. I was in Tucson, Arizona, and I was a single mother, and I was just getting started in the real estate industry. And I was a leasing consultant, so I was leasing apartments. And I remember that we had shoppers, and for those of you who don't know, shoppers are someone who they pretend to as if they're going to lease an apartment, but they're really just shopping you to make sure that you're on point. Well, I failed to shop, and I failed to shop because of the way I sound. And I had my VP who took interest and called me and said, you failed this shop. You sound ghetto. Okay. I was just flabbergasted. I could not believe I was being called ghetto, first of all, by my vice president. How inappropriate. Well, I had a moment because that comment, it hurt. But I had to figure out what I was going to do in that moment. Pick or choose my battle. I was a single mother and I need to put food on the table for my son. But on the other hand, I really wanted to stand up for myself. However, I let the moment go. And I powered through it. And this is what I did. I put a smiley face on the guest card, and I made that smiley face and looked at it. So every time I answered the phone, I would be smiling and I would be, talking and greeting the person who would come in on the phone. So fast forward, maybe a week or so later, I get a prospect and she comes through the door, her and her husband, and they're looking for an apartment. And what happened during this moment was just astronomical. I could not believe it. I mean, I literally thought Ashton Kutcher was going to jump out from the other room and say, "You've just been punked." That didn't happen, unfortunately. So what happened was the lady came in and she says, "I'm looking for Roberta." And I said, "Well, I'm Roberta." And she says, "You can possibly be Roberta." And I said, "Oh no, I'm Roberta. Are you such and such?" "Well, you're not Roberta." And I said, "Okay." And she says, "Roberta is a white woman." And I was taken back. And I said, "Well, no, ma'am, I'm Roberta, and I can help you find an apartment. Do you know what you were looking for today?" And she says, "I'm going to call your corporate office and I'm going to complain that you are impersonating a white woman." I really wish Ashton Kutcher was in that room at that point. And so, although I'm laughing with you now about it, back then, it was hurtful. It was very hurtful. What ended up happening is as soon as she left, she stormed out, and her husband followed right behind her, just mouthing, "I'm sorry." And she walked out of that room, and I locked the door behind her. And I sat down there with my emotions. I was angry, I was sad, I was crying, and I was scared to death that I was going to lose my job. Because remember, I had just gotten a call from the VP that said, "That's it. If I fail something else, if I get a complaint, anything, I'm done." I definitely thought I was going to lose my job. 20 minutes later, I got that call. I got the call from my VP who said, "I just received a complaint." And my heart sank. And he says, "First and foremost, I want you to know that I apologize for my comments. They were inappropriate. And you are doing a wonderful job. Keep it up. I also want to let you know that I received a call from the lady who was in the office. I'm sure you remember. And I said, yeah. And when I heard what she was complaining about, I personally wanted to take her complaint. So I took her call and I told her that she could live in another community, that we didn't want her to live in any of our communities because we didn't want and we don't tolerate discrimination and don't want anyone living in our communities who thinks that way. So what happened in that moment? I had powered through. I stood my ground. I stood firm. I was professional. I didn't lose my cool. And I gave that woman kindness. I went high when she went low. I didn't complain. I didn't lash out to my VP when he called me ghetto. I went high when he went low. And so in that moment, I was able to experience that not only an apology from my vice president, but that he stood up for me. I had earned his respect. That was so powerful. And in that pivotal moment, for me powering through, I had leveled up to a better chapter in my life because I became the #1 top leasing consultant to sell over 40 apartments, 42 to be exact. That summer, I had won an all-paid expense trip to New York. I stayed in the St. Moritz in New York. And at the end of that year, at the awards ceremony, I received, and I brought it here today just for you, 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person. I received this award. And I received the Phoenix Award, just being there for a year and bringing on so much change. And I want to share the action steps that I took to power through and level up in those moments, in those challenging moments. And I want to share these steps that I took and I developed for myself with you. And you can use these in your life and in your career as you're establishing and building the characteristics that you need to be a leader. I had to recognize, acknowledge, identify, understand, forgive, and move forward. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So the first step is recognize the pain. All right, so someone said a hurtful comment. You have to recognize that you're hurting, that comment hurt. It hit me low. Once you recognize it, then the next step is that you can acknowledge that you are in pain. And once you've acknowledged that pain, you can then identify the source of the pain. So let's take it back to the story in my career. Why would I be hurt that my VP called me ghetto? Why would I be hurt that she said I was impersonating a white woman? Clearly, for me, and no one else would have known, I grew up with other Black kids teasing me, saying that I sounded white, that I sounded different, that I sounded weird, that my voice sounded funny. I also had experienced just shortly prior to that, a divorce in which I had went through an abusive relationship where my ex-husband was, saying that he couldn't stand the sound of my voice. And so these were the sources of my pain. This is why now that at first I sound white, now I sound ghetto, and now I'm impersonating someone. I'm like, why is my voice a bother? And so there's the source of my pain. This is how you can identify the sources of your pain. Really dig deep. Why is it hurting you? Why did it trigger hurt? And then you have to understand the why. Well, why? Why would my vice president call me ghetto? Is he not familiar with Black people? Is he racist? Or maybe there's some unconscious bias there. The same for the lady. Why would she say I was impersonating a white woman? I can't talk this way? Was she racist? Or were there some unconscious bias there? Were they associating me with how I look and determining how I should sound? Is that fair? Understand the why, do the research. And then I had to learn, and I encourage you to learn to forgive. Forgive yourself and forgive others. So in this instance, I know, and I hear feedback, forgive myself. What am I forgiving myself for? They're the ones, but I had to forgive myself because I lost confidence. I allowed someone who went low to not, even though I went high, I still lost confidence. I allowed myself to be taken back. I allowed myself to lose self-confidence. And I need to forgive myself for that. I'm not perfect, nor is anyone else. I also need to forgive them of their ignorance, forgive them for going low. And then the last step, once I truly, truly forgave, now I'm able to overcome and move forward. There's so much freedom wrapped up in this last step. You are free to move forward. You are free, and it just gives you that pass, that energy to go full throttle into whatever it is that you're doing, whatever challenge, just zoom right out of that baby and come out on top. This is what it's about being a leader. This is what it's about moving forward. Once you go over all those steps, just to summarize, you're going to recognize, you're going to acknowledge, identify, understand, forgive, and you're going to overcome and move forward. I hope that I've inspired someone on this call today, or whoever may be listening after. I hope I've inspired you, and I am open to questions, and I'm going to turn this back over to Richard or Alexis. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Thank you so much to be here. That was fantastic. Would you like to say something, Alexis?
No, yeah. I just wanted to give quick recognition to the expansion of evolution of leadership. Just say thank you for everybody who's been reaching out to other campuses and meeting actually people who are really driven and who should be, on these Thursdays, and because they would really find inspiration in these kinds of conversations. So just thank you guys for your hard work.
So amazing. Now I'm thinking like a big shout out to me, Miss Lynn. That was really amazing. I'm so sorry about all that happened, but I don't want to say it's part of life, but it comes with it. Sometimes life is gonna give these type of adversities that we have to overcome. We have to overcome them. And well, you're a big example of how to do it and how to show this strength. So by now we're gonna pass into the Q&A session. You guys don't hold it no more. Anything that guys want to say, you guys are more than free to say it right now. Let's get started. Do not come as once, as our CEO Angel Roman says.
Oh, so hi Roberta, Kelly. It's nice to be here with you. I did tell you that I was excited to see you here today. Yeah, so I'm keeping my word for that. So I know you spoke about racism, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like I experienced racism during middle school a lot. Like it was mostly like, there was always like that anger, towards Hispanics or Latinos, and blacks, right? There was always, I feel like I was in that environment, and then based on where I lived also, like it kind of was part of my daily environment,
Mhm.
but then again, like although I would have wished like not to go through that, like having that experience has given me like the vision, to give love to everybody, to accept everyone how they are, even if they had differences. Like those differences shouldn't be neglected. They should be appreciated and welcomed. And so, now that I've experienced that racism, when someone experiences that, like I could, be there for them, because I've lived through that experience. So for that, that's the same way that you feel. You have all this experience that you can speak to other people like us. So I thank you for that, for being here, being open about that. And also, well, what else? I'm thinking about something, but it's like it wasn't racism, but at the airport they always confused me with different. I think it was more like Arabian or Pakistani. It was
Yeah.
always they used to tell me where are you from? I'm like, so I say I'm from Mexico or from here. I'm like, I'm from here. Like, and it's like, but where are you really, really, really from? Oh, like, I wouldn't know what to say, I was just like, but then, I was like, okay, I let it, it's fine. Like, I'm not gonna get mad. They would be like, oh, you speak Spanish too? I'm like, yeah, I do, but yeah, I just wanted to share that and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Like Cruz, and you did tell me you're going to be here, so thank you. I heard a story once. There was and I think it was, yeah, I think he was Asian, and he said that someone had walked up to him and said,
Mhm.
"Is there a translator?" He just started asking for a translator.
Yeah.
And the guy is like looking around and he's like, "Why do you need a translator?" He's, "Oh, you speak English." Yes. And so it's, assuming, I'm going to say this, I've heard it not too long ago. When you assume, you make an ass of me and you, right? So it's just like assume.
Mhm.
And assume is in the Bible too, by the way. But I mean, well, asses. But it's just, you can't you can't do that. And so in order for us, as minorities, to be able to kind of stand firm in a professional way, no, you
Yeah.
don't have to get upset, but you can stand up for yourself. And so in your situation at the airport, we're like, where are you really, really, really from?
Yeah.
Well, why? Well, why does that matter? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
it's like, yeah,
Come
exactly.
back to them with the questions.
Right. Yeah, it would make me a little bit uncomfortable because it
Yeah.
actually made me think. So like, what do I
Mhm.
say? So I started hating the question because everyone would ask me. And I'm like, okay, like I wouldn't know what to say.
Mhm.
It's just, but I guess just thinking back on it, it kind of makes sense
Mhm.
to me. It's a little experience I could share, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
So Angel, hey, do you want to ask the question yourself or do you want, anyway, Angel had a question. I'll ask it for him. So, essentially he was asking, what was the defining moment, that you knew that you were a leader?
That's a great question. The defining moment that I knew that I was a leader is actually when I stood up for myself in high school. In order to stand up to a whole student body of students and recite a poem I had written, um, and to stand up and, for who I am unapologetically so, wow, I knew that God had instilled something in me that was special. And I didn't know what it was at that moment, but I knew that I needed to find out what that was. Great question.
I have a follow-up question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel as though like when it comes to that, I'm like, whoa, like I feel like a lot of times we're in this kind of state where we don't really know what we're capable of. Do
Mhm.
you kind of after that moment kind of like, do you think that that was because of like it was an experience, or was it just kind of is it something where like you just like is the experience important when knowing that, or what's your take on like having those kinds of like, oh, there's more to this?
Mhm. Um, so I'm just gonna repeat your question to make sure I understand it. Is there in the moment that I'm experiencing that, or back then where I experienced racism, or is it in the moment that I experience knowing that, hey, you know, I stood up for myself?
Well, I was kind of more going toward the like I would say like the human potential, and kind of
Mhm.
like I feel as though for me personally, like a lot of times we kind of block ourselves out of what we're really capable of.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, okay. So in that moment, I had to realize that I found strength and I found motivation inside of myself, and that I really dug deep, and that no matter how how much fear, right, is there, that I have to break out of that shell and I have to be me. I have to be who I am. And I'm not going to, like, God made us all unique. I'm a firm believer in that. So I'm not going to look like the next person. But when I'm a part of a culture and we're all Black people, um, I am going to stand out for the characteristics that I possess for myself. So I'm like, for instance, I'm talking white. That's what I got teased for all the time. Well, what is talking white? How about my parents just, made sure that we pronunciated our words, and this is how I sound because I'm half Indian and I'm half Black. So again, it's just there's a lot of just searching, soul searching that you do, especially when you're at that age, middle school, high school. And it goes into, adult, in your adult life. God, I'm telling my age. I'm 38, but I had to realize that um, uh, there's always going to be pivotal moments in my life that I'm going to have to just chuck it up. I'm gonna have to, I can't man up because I'm a woman, but I have to woman up. I have to get through this. In fact, I just told myself that I actually did a live video so people could see the nerves and everything, and I posted it on my Instagram. And I thought that was a great moment to share. And then right before I hit like to sign on, I said, okay, this is happening. You got this. Let's get it. So it's just finding that motivation within inside yourself and believing in yourself. Let me tell you something. You will never get through this life hoping and praying that the next person believes in you. Not your mom, not your sibling, not even your partner. But you have to believe in yourself first. And when you believe in yourself first, then you can have the strength and the courage and the faith and all of that comes with believing in yourself. You can do that and you can move forward. So that's what that looks like for me. It may look different for others, but that's what it looks like for me. That's a great question. Anybody else have any questions? I'm knocking them out, man.
No, well, I have one. Hopefully, my question is going to be the last one. So, for example, as you said that you recognize, that you were a leader in high school, you said, or I'm wrong.
Mhm.
Sorry. Yeah.
And,
Okay. Right. So, well, we're gonna have people, as you said, we're not perfect. So we're gonna have people that they're not weak. I want to emphasize that they're not weak. They just having a knowledge they're strange. They just having a knowledge that they can stood up by themselves. So, what is the best advice for these kind of people that they feel that they don't have the strength, they don't have, that power of voice of stood up? What is the best advice for you while you make this transition in your life, and during high school, that you realize these kind of problematics?
That's a great question. Okay, so there are two things There was a quote, and I love quotes. I have a book out, and I associate quotes in my book titles, right? And this quote that was given to me, it said, "Let your attitude determine your altitude." So essentially, and I probably messed it up, but it's like your attitude. Yeah, there it is. Your attitude determines your altitude. Okay, and I was like, that's right. Because if I have a bad attitude, I'm not gonna go high. In fact, if I had a bad attitude when my vice president called me ghetto, I probably wouldn't have had a job. Because I would have that conversation would have quickly went downhill. So I had to just again go high when he went low. I love Michelle Obama for that, because it's exactly what you have to do. The other parts of that question is to break it down. So that's the thought leadership on that. Just go high, right? To get through those challenging moments. But if you want to break it down, and I can give you something hands-on that you can do, there is this great program. It's called Strength Finders. And I do this for all of my employees. And I get Strength Finders, and I get the emotional intelligence test. But Strength Finders gives you your top 34 strengths. And they start with your top 5. And I can tell you my top strength is restorative. I like to fix things. I see problems and I like to give solutions. So I'm a fixer. And that's what's made me great over the last decade, or now I'm aging myself, the last a little over a decade of being a property manager. And guess what? Today I own my own property management company, because I like to solve solutions for building owners. And so Strength Finders, you can go online and Google it. It's called Strength Finders. You can do your top 5, I think, for like $20. And it allows you to kind of, you answer a bunch of questions about yourself, and then it pulls out your strengths. Now, what's great about this is it's not determining your personality and who you are. It's pulling your strengths and what you're strong at. And so like, these are strengths that can't be really changed. This is who you are from birth. These were your strengths as you grew and you learn. Your personality changes, right? You can adapt and change that, but your strengths, you can only get stronger, right? And so I love this. So I would encourage you guys to go on to Strength Finders, find out your top 5 strengths, and really hone in on what you're what you're good at for your top 5. If you want, for everyone who's on the call today, actually not even want, it's for everyone who's on the call today, I want you to reach out to me are you going to give them my email, Richard?
Yeah, sure. We can provide the email
Okay.
and all the information of social media in the chat.
Yeah, because I want to sign everyone up who reaches out today from this call, not from the recording, just from this call, who's on the call today, for a free Strength Finders test. And I want to set that up for you so that you can find out your strengths. And then you can take it from there. But they print out, they have a printout of what your strength is, and then what it means, and how to use it at work, and how to use it in your life. And it's just so crazy. And you got a video and you get all of this. So I want to give that as my gift for everyone who's attending today live, to just as a thank you. And just reach out to me at my email, bkelly@milanpm.com.
Amazing. Sure. Yeah, we're going to provide that. And thank you so much. You're really kind. That will be like really good for, I believe, for everyone. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So I have another question, but anyone else would like, to address anyone, any other question before I do?
I just want to mention something, because like when it comes to problems, I'm the one to be like observer and try and find the the most logical solutions, the most logical words I could tell a person, you know, just to let them see the problem that they aren't seeing when they're mad, you know. And yes, no, not yesterday, but probably like 2 days ago, or my sister was having a problem with the front neighbor, right?
Mhm.
And my sister told me to go help her get a mirror from her friend that she had brought in the car. I went, started arguing. It was like a whole dilemma. It's a very long story. So then, you know, when my sister, when she left back inside the house, I was talking to the girl, I was talking to her parents, and it's like I was being such an adult and so logical, and that, you know, I felt like I was getting somewhere with that person, but then that person is like, all my words just, I don't know where they went, and she just gave me an attitude telling me like, you know, like to not tell her how to speak. And but
Mhm.
all I was asking for is respect. That's it, just respect. And so then after that, you know, my sister, she started telling me like, oh, like, why didn't you do this and that? But then in my mind, I was like, I was trying to stay calm, and I was trying to connect with the person and make them see what they were doing wrong. But then I started doubting myself, and I was like, was I doing the right thing and being
Yeah.
calm like that and trying to connect with the person, or should I have been a little bit more different because based on the situation? So that was pretty confusing to me. I just didn't know what to do, you know? I mean, I was thinking I was doing the right thing, but then again, it's like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you know, remaining calm in challenging situations, being I saw the note come pop up in chat, self-aware
Yeah.
of your emotions. And I want to let everybody know that it's okay to feel those emotions as they come, right? So be present in that moment, feel those emotions, but don't act those emotions out. So here, like when you're in the situation, right? So that what does that mean? Um, that means don't allow someone to get under your skin to where it causes you to act out of character.
Mhm.
Now that is easier said than done. I am still, I am still having moments. I have some friends just very recently, but you know, when you're under pressure, you have to, you know, make sure that you can tighten up. So what I like to tell myself, and what I also like to share with others, is don't let your emotions define that moment. You define that moment. You define those emotions. You say, okay, I'm feeling angry, and that's okay. And I'm going to remain calm. And I'm going to end this conversation. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to say, hey, when you're feeling better, let's have this conversation. You know, whatever it is, pick and choose your battles. Because one thing I think, like in the moment that I did with my VP, had I went off, I probably wouldn't have had a job.
Yeah.
What would that have done? I would have taken food from my son. I wouldn't have had a place to live, you know, because I was living on property. And I would have been without a job. I would have been in the welfare line, the unemployment line, and I had been there before. Because, you know, and I have a part 2 coming out in my book where I can share more in depth about this, but I was homeless with a 13-month-old on my hip, my son. And so I had come from a long way. There was no reason and no way that I was gonna let, you know, him calling me ghetto take me back there.
Right.
So yeah, remain calm. I agree with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel comfort, so I'll keep on progressing in that area for sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
Yeah.
Or-
Oh, and then I wanted to say, in addition to that, that's completely true because, you know, I'm gonna use myself as an example. I'm a person that has a really bad temper. Trust me. It doesn't seem, but sometimes I do. So you get into the controversy in which, oh, I should snap to them or I should remain calm. Is by the situation, you know, since
Yeah.
these people were like really, really rude, and you were
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, I'm about to snap. It is always
Mm-hmm.
good because even though that is not your problem, your situation, when you have a bad attitude and you snap, the problem
Mm-hmm.
comes more to you, more
Yeah,
to you. I mean, the
it does.
situation even. Mhm. the situation, even yourself can escalate it into worst. Trust me, like, once again, in my experience, and everything goes down. So you're doing amazing, and
Thank
I'm so happy
you.
that Roberta is, giving us these advices too,
Thank
because that's the
you.
main point.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got to be better than the negative person that we have in front.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
If I could add some stuff to that, I mean, just listening to all of you guys, definitely agree with you guys. There's just, I guess, 3 things that I would advise. 1, I do work in sales, and 2, coming from my psychological background, I'm gonna get my bachelor's in psychology. So I need to always do, when they come at you and they scream at you, it's gonna happen. You're gonna get that. The first thing to do is just listen, let them vent out. Listen, they're gonna scream out, just listen. That's the number 1 step. Step 2 is to acknowledge their problem. You kind of rephrase what they just told you, and that calms the brain down on their perspective and lets them know that, okay, someone's finally paying attention to me. And the last thing is you take action simply by saying, okay, let me see what I could do with you. How can we take a situation? Or if it does get to that point where you have to walk away, then you do that. That's just something, I guess, some advice that I could hand out.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
Easy, but really strong and powerful, steps, actually.
Yeah, 3 steps is always listen, acknowledge, take action.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Thank you, Eric, for that. Thank you so much.
Working at the airport, you get a lot of that. Trust me. Trust me.
We know that. Stressful,
Being a
but
wheelchair agent, yeah, you get a lot of that.
so bad.
I
Sorry.
have a comment.
MVD?
Can you hear me? Okay. So first of all, I am super speechless for you, Roberta. Oh my gosh. I feel like, oh my God. It's because I feel a lot of things right now, because like I've experienced a lot of things as a young child as well, and for you to say those things, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one here. Like you're such an inspiration to me. Like, I'm so glad I discovered you.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes like it's really hard to find those people that you could really relate to and aspire to be like them, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, thank you so much for sharing your story, because that just gives me more reason to like keep going on what I'm doing, keep working harder, because like if you can make it, why can't I, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like as a woman, like woman to woman, like hands down to you, because you didn't let your circumstances get in the way at all for any part of your life. And I just aspire to be like someone like you, as a successful, proud, resilient, just bright in what you are and what you do. And one of the things that I wanted to ask, that feeling of always like standing out from the crowd and like never belonging anywhere, for that, say, do you still feel that to this day?
Well, thank you so much. I'm like honored that anybody would want to aspire to be like me. So thank you. That was a huge compliment, and it goes a long way. So I appreciate it. I still do have that feeling. I channeled those emotions that I had on that day, that I talked myself into getting on that stage. And what it would mean, and even if people hated me after my speech, that I still gave the speech, right? And so yes, I absolutely use those moments, and I remember those moments, and remember, and remind myself, well, you were so brave here, you had courage and strength, you can do it now, right? And so no matter what the situation is, if it's that I need to walk into this room and command the attention so I can get this investment, I'm going to do exactly that. If I need to make 100 cold calls, you know, until I can get a client, then I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to do what it takes until I get the job done. I'm relentless and I'm resilient. And that's what I have to, you know, remind myself and to tell myself that. And I want you guys to do the same thing too. No matter what it is that you are going through, remember a moment where you had courage and you were brave, and channel those emotions. And hey, if I did that then, I can do this now. Don't let fear stop you. Remember, when you're in that moment, sometimes when things happen and you feel like you're like me, like I feel like I was being punked because I just couldn't believe like this was real life. And I was just like, okay. And I had to assess my emotions in that moment. And you have to think about like a million things at the same time, right? And you're already unconsciously doing that because your brain has this to tell you when to look this way and when to lift your arm, and it's already giving all these instructions out to your body, right? And then at the same time, you have all these thoughts that you're processing. So what you have to do is control your thoughts in that moment. Again, you define the situation. Don't let that situation define who you are. So what you have to do is you have to, in that moment, as it's happening, you have to tell yourself, this is happening. Why is this happening? Like, this hurts, this is happening. You know, why look past your pain and look into theirs? What's going on? And have empathy. You will go a long way in life, and to be a leader in your industry, you will go a long way if you show empathy, because remember, there's always a human side because you're dealing with humans. You're not dealing with robots who have no feelings. So have empathy. Remember the courage and the strength in earlier moments in your life, and, you know, piggyback on those emotions, and you define that moment. And thank you so much again for your kind comments.
Thank you so much, honestly.
You're welcome.
Just amazing. Just amazing. Any other question?
I just want to say that your voice brings lots of comfort in your words, because I had those moments where like I recline back, but then I have to go and travel either back to the future. I mean, yeah, like rewind back to those moments where like I found that strength and I was able to pull myself out of the worst situations. And so, you know, it's been happening where like I'm like that, where like I just think back, okay, like you've done this before, so it's like you could do it, you know. Like I just try to like motivate myself, but I just feel like being here at home, like sometimes like my environment isn't the best, and I feel like being me, like being like me, like absorbing all that negativity, kind of like I feel like it brings me down, you know, in certain moments a lot, really.
You stay at home for work?
Huh?
You stay at home for work?
No, for school and everything.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
sometimes like, well, you know, my household is not the best. So sometimes there's so much negativity. And then my sister, well, she tells me that like, oh, it's because you absorb it while I don't even like it doesn't even faze me. But then I'm the one that tries to solve problems, and I absorb everything, and it just feels like everything that I'm doing, it pulls me back. So I have to motivate myself once again and everything.
Yeah. For anybody who works at home or goes to school from home, you know, I've done both. I worked from home for the last 3 years pre-COVID. And so I managed buildings. So I would go out to my buildings and see my tenants, but I also did a lot of my work from home. And of course, I was attending college at the same time. And I finished my degree in 2019. I graduated with a degree in criminal justice. And one of the things that, and by the way, I didn't want to interrupt you because it was so great, but my son is going to, he's going to college for industrial engineering, but I'll take that.
That's awesome.
Um,
Congratulations.
thank you. But he or being at home, you're right. You do go through those emotions. But one of the things I want to kind of give you guys like a quick secret to surviving those moments where at first I was so excited because I was just like, yay, I get to work from home. I have this freedom, and I could go to work in my pajamas, I have my house shoes on and curlers in my hair. And that got old. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to dress up for work today. The environment that's around you, like I was by myself. My son's off to, college, and I have, just the four walls, right? And it gets lonely and it gets depressing. And when you take those calls, and people are yelling at you in your ear, and you're like, one of the secrets that I have that I do are my outlets. And so I guess it's not really a secret anymore. I use outlets. And you know what I would do? Does anybody remember when, and I may be dating myself, but do you remember when people who smoke cigarettes, a lot more people smoked cigarettes back in the day, and they were able to take like these 10, 15-minute breaks, like constantly throughout the day? Well, I took my breaks. And you know what I did? I set my alarm, and when my alarm went off, I would get up, I would move around, I'd run in place. I'm a gamer, so I'd get my PlayStation out. I'd play a little a little Fortnite, or I have my little Super Mario Brothers on my little handheld, whatever they call that thing. My son says, "Mom, you're horrible. You're horrible at naming this gaming stuff." I said, "I just play." But I'll do any one of my outlets. I'll read whatever it is. I'll take my mind off of work, or I take my mind off of school. And what it does is it refreshes me. It takes me out of that environment that I was just sitting in on a computer trying to focus. And it takes me, and I'm now focused somewhere else. Now, when I come back, I feel refreshed. I feel like brand new. I'm at my desk again and I'm ready. So I just encourage you to try that. Like, if stuff is going on in the home, like especially where you're trying to go to school and focus on your classes, take a break, go take a walk, go running, come back, you'll be fine.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So it seems like we're at the end of our event today. Thank you, Byrdy, for being here. And yeah, is there anything that you'd like to end off on?
Yeah, it's like, whoever is watching this recording, and of course you guys, thank you for again having me. Please follow me on @ByrdyLynn. On Instagram, I'm @ByrdyLynn, @Milan, @Remap. I'm developing a tech app. I have a property management company, and I have a book that's out. So I would definitely love your support. You can go on to Amazon. Yay! Thank you for following me, Eric. You can go on to byrdyLynn.com or Amazon, and you can grab my book, Through the Storm of Early Trauma, and just learn more about my story. And I promise you will hear from me, Milan Property Management. I hope to be out there and present in the industry. And so keep an eye out for me and my company, and come work for me one day.
Amazing. Well, like Alexa said, the saddest part of the day, we have to say bye-bye, but thanks a lot. I would like to provide more value to you to, keep talking. I'm a little speechless, but the only thing I can say, it was wonderful. You're the one that provided the best value for us. And trust me, it is really worth it. And you're making a huge impact. We fully, in the name of Evolution of Leadership, we fully appreciate it, Miss. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Guys. Thank you, my leaders. So have an amazing one and keep in touch. See you next Thursday. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.